Here we are today with T Pau lead singer Carol Decker, and we are in the most amazing place ever. We are in the Vault Room in the Hard Rock Cafe. We've got Rolling Stones guitars, we've got John Lennon stuff over there. We just everything's going on. Jimi Hendrix's seat,
Madonna's bra,
Madonna's Vogue bra.
I'm going to borrow that later. Yeah.
I'm gonna. You have
After
to,
you.
I'll fight you over it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming today. It's a privilege because I first seen you. I mean, I was back in the day, sort of when I was younger, and I didn't need any Botox and stuff like that. I was like, China in Your Hand came out, and it was just massive.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
#1 for 5 weeks. Yeah. Your album went quadruple platinum, and everything sort of changed for you. You went from sort of this humble girl in Liverpool, and
I kind of grew up in the Midlands. Actually, I left Liverpool when I was 7.
Yeah.
I don't think humble is something anyone would ever call me.
Oh, I was
just unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I grew up. We moved to Shropshire when I was 7.
Yeah.
And I grew up, I went to school in Wellington, then I went to art school in Shrewsbury, but I lived in Ironbridge and Bridge North, sort of all around. It's quite a big county. Yeah. And I was there till I was 28, so the bulk of my life was spent in the Midlands, yeah.
And when did you first decide you wanted to sort of go into music?
I was a really late starter when I decided to do it for a career, and you probably know this because you read the book, didn't you?
Yes, I've been reading your book.
Yeah, I could always sing, always enjoyed singing. My parents are musical, my mum was a singer, my dad was a pianist. I was always in the choir, I was always singing onto the radio, and people would always comment when I was a little girl, gosh, you've got a really good voice, and I could harmonise with things like that, you know, it was just instinctual. And then on I went to a sort of straightforward girls' grammar school, which is quite academic.
You're brainier than I am.
No, I had a lucky day.
They were like, get out of school, Mark.
I had a very lucky day on my 11 plus, I can tell you that. And those kinds of things like the arts and music were just sort of like hobbies, or, you know, nobody really put it to me that it could be a career. Yeah. You know, so I kind of went down that ordinary route of A-levels and stuff, which I right royally screwed up. So I didn't know what to do with myself. So I went and au paired and knocked about in Holland for about a year. Then when I came back, a mate of mine was going to art school, and I could draw a bit. I just didn't know what to do with myself, so I kind of copied her, really. Got a quick portfolio together, blagged my way into the Wakeman School of Art in Shrewsbury, and in that environment started to meet a different kind of person. Yeah. And off the wall, thinking out of the box, all those sorts of people who are interested in fine art and printing and photography and sculpture and music, and it was just, my mind exploded, you know. Yeah. And this is the God's honest truth, they always had the radio on in the studio, and I was always singing away and kind of harmonising over everybody's pop songs and really annoying them. And somebody said to me, why don't you stop annoying us all and go and join a band? Yeah. And then said, seriously, my mate is looking for a singer, you've got a great voice, come to a party with me at the weekend. And I thought, wow, and you know, so I went for an audition, and I was in a garage band in Ludlow, and next thing I was a singer with a band, and we were gigging and just little pubs and clubs, and I was on my way, and I thought, I can do this, you know, I can do this, I'm good at this. And I naturally had nerves before every show, still do, and my first ever show, I think I nearly threw up, but I knew I could do it. I'd found my little niche, you know.
And you're obviously nervous about meeting me today. It was like biggest day of your life and stuff like that.
I was terrified. Yeah, I've just heard what a twat you can be sometimes.
And this lady has got a foul mouth as well. I was like looking at some of your stuff on Facebook, and I was like, you know, you don't mess around with your words. If you've got something to say, you'll tell someone as well.
Yeah, no, it's my Twitter actually. I don't do my Facebook to run for me, Twitter, but my Twitter. Yeah, I've tried to stop being so potty mouthed. Yeah. Because there's so many horrible people out there now on Twitter that it used to be quite fun having a swear off with someone. There'd be a bit of wit behind it, a bit of banter, but now there's just all sorts of horrible people piling in, saying the most vile things. I've kind of backed off a bit.
Yeah, I suppose when it gets to a certain point. So, and on that note, you know, you talked about being in the right company. Yeah. How important is it to associate with the right people?
Yeah, you, obviously, whatever you want to do in life, you've got to find a way of doing it. So, you know, you start I started at the bottom. I met local musicians. I was in a local band. We wrote our own songs, but that didn't make us any money, so we had to do covers.
Yeah.
So we would do our own gigs in a pub, and we'd raise money, because in those days the PAs weren't in the clubs or pubs. You had to bring everything yourself.
Yeah.
So that cost a lot of money, and our guitarist was the manager of a Salop Music Centre, so he could always get PA, and he had a van. That's probably the only reason he was in the band.
Yeah.
And you had to take everything with you, so you had to find the funds to pay for that. So we were a covers band, and you just do weddings and working men's clubs and stuff like that, But our real aim was to get our own music out there, so that would also fund us to go into a local studio and start doing demos and sending those demos off to record companies. And so you start, and each level you connect. Like, I did a session in actually did backing vocals for someone in a session in Leominster, and the engineer there was the cousin of the guy who owns Rockfield Studios, which is one of the most legendary residential studios in the history of rock and roll.
Sure.
Everybody, I mean, we're looking at up there Freddie Mercury Queen plaque. Or Bohemian Rhapsody was done there,
That is, and that was the #1 song in the UK.
Just Google Rockfield Studios and look at their archive list. So Simon is Kingsley's cousin. Simon thinks I've got a great voice. I give Simon a a cassette.
Careful, the way you were sort of going down there, and I was like thinking to myself, God damn, I'm flipping.
I gave him a cassette. Yeah. And he took it to Kingsley. Kingsley, apart from running a studio, also had his own production company and wanted to nurture young artists.
Yeah.
So I gave him a blowjob as well. Yeah. And Kingsley, for 2.5 years, just gave me. It's called the graveyard shift at Rockfield. So when the studios were empty, me and Ronnie could go in, my ex-partner, and Simon would engineer.
Did you blowjob your way to the top then?
Totally. I'm doing it back to the bottom right now.
You are, and you're at the very bottom with me now. You're like, I'll go to the very pit of despair, which is right here, Mark, and then I'm going to come back up.
Actually, I am being really, really flippant, because I absolutely pride myself of never having done that to get a gig. But you make friends and you network, and hopefully people look upon you favourably. But you don't mean to use people as stepping stones, but there's a natural progression. With Kingsley, he really looked after us for 2.5 years, but he struggled to get us a record deal, and he said, I need to focus on something else. It was heartbreaking for me, but it galvanised me to make the next move and get down to London and get some heavier weight management with Harvey Goldsmith's company. So what I thought was the end of something was actually the beginning of something, because it made me go, right, okay, we've got fantastic, I'm moving away from Kingsley now with wonderful songs on tape. We had Heart and Soul Down, we had Valentine, we had Sex Talk at Monkey House. All of that was demoed in Rockfield Studios. Let's get those tapes forward, and and finally I got some management, and then the next thing was a deal,
And then with the networking stuff, it's right. You sort of you meet people who are on a similar sort of path, and then you both kind of just rise up together. It's like
and you have to be prepared to sometimes take a sideways step. It might not go.
Or give a blowjob.
Or give a blowjob. And sometimes you think, well, I thought I was going that way, but actually it's going to go this way with that person, so what have they got to offer? And when and I was, and still am, ambitious. So you've always got your eye on the next person that can help you. That sounds terribly cutthroat.
I think we're all a bit like,
I know.
We've all got the drive, and I find with myself, it's like, if you like people, do you know what I mean, and they're really good at what they do, then you just want to let's just rise up together, sort of
and
thing.
hopefully you've got something to give to each other. There's sort of obviously, if I want a good manager, then he's going to earn money out of me earning money. So that kind of thing. And then we got heavyweight management in London, but again it took a while for record companies to get to Pau, because our style's really eclectic. When you think Heart and Soul is a rap song, China Your Hand is a massive ballad, Sex Talk and Monkey House are huge rockers. I was on the cover of Smash Hits. I was also on the cover of GQ and Kerrang. And I thought that was fantastic. But in certain parts of the world, like America, what are you? are you a rock band or
They
are you a
wanted to
rap
put
band?
you in a
So
slot.
it also caused some problems as well. So, and still does. People still can't pigeonhole us. But I like that. I like
Yeah.
that, you know. But it took a while for record companies to get us, and then finally, after almost another year, we had a deal with Virgin or Siren, which was one of their companies, but in this country. But Virgin looked after us the rest of the world.
Fantastic. And you met Richard Branson then, and all of that sort of stuff. And how's all
Darling Dickie. I used to see a lot of Richard because he was launching his CD plant as well. Obviously, this is a long time ago. CDs were, you know, and he would use Mike Oldfield, his first ever signing.
And
me and Ronnie, who were the new jewel in his crown.
That's it, yeah.
And I'll never forget, we went to his CD plant and we had to dress up like doctors or, you know, medical workers. We had to put on these overshoes.
In Richard's...
In the CD plant.
Yeah,
in the CD plant where they printed all the CDs. I went to a white coat, gloves, and these covers that you put onto your shoes, and those horrible stretchy hats that bakers have to wear.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Ronnie got those things mixed up, and we were in all the tabloid press, grinning out the front of the Sun, and Ronnie had a shoe on top of his head. It's really funny. And Richard used us mercilessly as PR tools, but it was great for us as well, you know. And then he gave us a free holiday on Necker Island, so that's.
That is
not shabby. Yeah.
It's like I got a friend that's been to Necker, and he paid £40,000 for not long at all.
Yeah.
So it's like what an amazing thing that I just fly over the Necker.
Yeah.
You know, there's no problem.
I couldn't afford it personally. It was just, it was, you know.
You were like,
gift,
wow. So back in the day, you were like, sort of initially, you were like, Jesus, this is some opportunity.
No, and he was great, and he also did a wonderful thing for my family. A distant cousin of mine, of my mother's, their daughter was dying of cancer out in Japan. She was so poorly she couldn't be moved. She lived out there, and her family couldn't afford to go there, so we all had a bit of a whip round and sort of said to Richard, no, could you help us out with flights, and he sent them first class. So
he's just,
my experience of Richard is he's a good guy, you know.
I've read and a lot of people have obviously read a lot about him, and he's just going straight into heaven.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. And, you know, he's such a successful businessman. I'm sure there are people who've fallen foul of him as he's gotten to where he wanted to get. But my experience of him is, as a nice person, he's always looked after me and my family whenever I asked. So
it's incredible. I just sent a letter to him like about, I don't know, 15 years ago, and of course, you know, you don't expect a letter, you know, and then he sent a letter back, and you're like, what?
15 years later.
How? Well, it took about 2 months to get the letter off him, but I was like, what?
Yeah,
so
cool. It took the time.
China in your hand.
Yeah.
So you basically released China in your hand, and what did you think? Did you think to yourself, this is going to be big, or this?
I didn't know. To backtrack a little, China in Your Hand did not get us our record deal. It wasn't even written.
Yeah.
The songs that got us our deal and got us Roy Thomas Baker, the legendary producer, you know, of Queen and Motley Crue and the Cars and everything, were, like I said before, Valentine. Everybody loved Valentine. Valentine was the big song in our collection of demos, then Heart and Soul, and then the others followed. And we were in the studio just outside Chicago, and we had one track, and I can't even remember what it was, but it wasn't coming together, and we were spending too much time on it, and it just didn't work. It didn't make that leap from demo to album cut. And Roy said, you know, it's called polishing a turd, and at some point you have to stop, you know.
Yeah.
And Roy said, we're down a song, have you got something? And I had in my pocket a cassette, and it was the early piano vocal version of China. And so he played it, and he just said, that's a fantastic song. So he turned it into that gargantuan beast that it is, because he just heard, you know, like an acoustic version, basically, you know. So, but my hopes were pinned on Heart and Soul. I am so proud of that song as a
I love
songwriter.
that song. Yeah. I really love it. And,
I know.
And it's the two ones that I do listen to the most, are China and Yan.
Because it was unique. It had the two vocals, it had the rap. It had an amazing bass riff on it, and if you hear it on the radio today, it still sounds kicking. It really does. It still sounds really current.
Yeah.
So that for me was the big one.
Yeah.
I thought China in Your Hand was just another slow song. I'm quite good at torch songs. I can write them.
Yeah.
You know, and I get sort of bored of of always being so melodramatic in my music, but it's where my natural songwriting talents lean, so I tend to come up with them. And so I just thought China in Your Hand was sort of okay, so I didn't know what was going to happen with that song.
How much of success is down to luck and how much of it is down to work?
What do they say? 95% perspiration, 5% inspiration. You have got to work really hard, but you have got to have something. You've got to have a USP, haven't you?
Unique selling point.
Yeah, and then you've got to get someone to believe in you, and that can be hard because Ronnie and I are very talented, and then our second album was a platinum album. We went on to have a lot of success as songwriters, but we found it so hard to get anyone to buy into our unique style, because normally what happens is people ape what else is it they're hearing around them, so it all sounds the same. Because there's let me see if I can get this right. There's a gag, which so head of record company, head of A&R, it's like so who's Carol Decker? No, I've never heard of Carol Decker. And then it's like, oh wow, Carol Decker, and then and the next thing is, get me someone who sounds like Carol Decker. And then after you've had your hits, it's like, who's Carol Decker? It's that kind of thing. So it goes, you're sort of the unknown quantity, then you become the status quo, then they start looking for things that sound like you, and then you have your time, and the cycle starts again, so so
who did you sound like, or who, in fact, maybe not that question, but you can answer that if you want, but also, who were your inspirations you thought?
I don't think I sound like anybody. I do think I sound like me, which I'm glad about.
That's the unique selling point.
But the voices I was influenced by very much came from my dad's record collection, and they were quite varied. He loved a diva. He might have been gay, It's record.
Who's this now?
my late father. No, I'm joking, but he loved like Barbara Streisand, Shirley Bassey, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington, Dusty Springfield. Although Dusty had a lighter voice, and he loved an opera. So he loved a big...
that's a big gaydar sign that's going off all the time,
he's not here to defend himself, but he's big gaydar.
You definitely are.
So I was raised on a big voice, so I thought to be perceived as good, you had to be really loud and big. So everything I did was like, whoa, And I've since learnt to play around more and modulate how I sing and use different parts of my voice. But they were my influences. I felt you really had to be a torch singer and have a big voice,
Yeah, fantastic. If you were to say like sort of 3 tips on success or achievement, what would you say they are?
3, gosh, I would say hard work, definitely, resilience, and if at all possible, I know people will say self-belief, but you've got to know that what you've got is good, because some people, they think they're really got something and they haven't.
You see on X Factor, don't you? And you're like,
really
oh no.
hard. And I've had people send me tapes, and I can see how hard they've worked, but I'm just thinking there's just nothing special there.
I'll save you the pain of
objectivity. Okay. Objectivity, resilience, and hard work.
I'll save you the pain of you won't get one of my tapes. It'd be pretty horrendous, I can tell you that. Other things that you've sort of done, then you left T Pau. What happened when you?
It ended.
It just ended.
Yeah, it ended. We had the usual band infighting, all that imploding.
Were you smashing guitars around them? Did you ever go to that sort of stage? Nothing like that?
No, I think I threw a few glasses at people.
There's just no need for guitar smashing, is there?
And then we'd had our day. The world turned away from our music, and there's no way of soft soaping that or pretending it didn't happen. It was, we came out with our 3rd album, Promise, which still went top 10. But it was gold, not platinum, and everybody was into the Stone Roses and the Farm and raves and all that. The whole world had changed, and they hated the pomp and shoulder pad of the 80s. They hated it. We were reviled throughout the 90s. I couldn't get arrested. And so I did some acting, I did some West End, I did some radio presenting, I did a couple of indie movies as well. I had a little shot at acting. I was okay, but again, that objectivity, I didn't think I was brilliant, so I didn't think I was really going to get anywhere. My name just got me a few breaks, which I enjoyed, but I didn't think I had any raw talent. And then along came the noughties, and then I met my now husband, and I had 2 children, and so my life changed, and I was fortunate enough, because I co-wrote all the songs with Ron, to have made some money in publishing, because that's the other hard thing about being a musician, is earning some money out of it for the long term. And then in the noughties, the whole 80s Renaissance thing started. Everybody thinks it's a recent thing. It's not. I did my first 80s arena tour in 2001. With Kim Wilde and Heaven 17 and Paul Young, and
you keep me hanging on. I see how you remember all these things.
And so, whereas I once sold out Wembley Arena on my own, now it took 6 of us to do it, but it was a good package, and that thing has gone from strength to strength, and keeps very busy. And then I was able to, again with a bit of profile raise and earning a bit more money, I was able to then put the band back together with Ronnie and other people. Go into the studio, record an album, and go out and do my own shows. And I just finished the other month a 30-day acoustic songs and stories tour to support my autobiography Heart and Soul, and the new album Pleasure and Pain. So
that book is so nice as well.
Did you like it?
I'm bringing out a book, but it's nowhere near as like this is like what the quality of that book, your Heart and Soul book is like. Oh, amazing.
The physical quality. I thought you meant the brilliant writing.
No, of course that as well. I was going to go into that.
No, it is. It's gorgeous. I wanted it to be gorgeous, feel nice in your hand. I know everyone's into their Kindles and stuff, but can't beat a good hardback.
No, you can't beat a hardback, but it. Grab onto it. You talk about the sort of 80s and stuff coming back. I mean, obviously at the moment, I was walking through my mummy's living room the other day, and Paul Young was on. And then Rick Astley's just gone to number 1. And what's going on? So. Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
That is so cool that Rick went to number 1.
I mean, you would have just, you kind of don't think it. And then, because you say you toured with Chesney Hawkes?
No, I toured last...
You're friends with Chesney and...
We all know each other, because we all hook up on these big festivals. But Nick Kershaw, who wrote...
The Riddle and Wouldn't It Be Good? And, all of that.
The first...
I didn't know he wrote the one and only for Chesney.
Yeah, and he's doing backing vocals on it. Next time it's so Nick Kershaw, you'll hear it.
I love Nick Kershaw.
Well, the first big break of T Pau's career was to be selected to be Nick's support act in 1987.
That is huge.
So I've known him a long time.
Yeah.
And then we were all on Top of the Pops together back in the day, and I know. I spoke to Paul on the phone the other day. I'm not dropping names.
It's your life, though, isn't it? At the end of the day,
we're genuinely mates, and we come from this shared a lot of us come from this shared background as well. Because you talk about high achievers. We've all done really, really well in a very tricky business. And then you are quite disposable as a pop star, if you like. Most of us are. So we've all had massive successes. All of us have been at number 1 all over the world. That's quite an elite club.
Yeah, it is very.
And we've all had to cope with life after that. And so for Rick to go to number 1 with his new album 50 is amazing.
That is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. But we all keep in touch and we all like each other. Yeah.
And I forgot what I was going to say there. Do you ever have these moments of blank in your head?
Yes, constantly. Yeah.
It's like my blonde moment, but I've got no blonde hair whatsoever. But that's what I was going to ask you. It's like family life as well. I mean, you've got 2 children now. You're still very, you're ambitious. You're doing lots of other different things. How do you work just as much of the children?
Yeah, I mean, Scarlett turned 18 2 weeks ago. So, and Dylan's now 13. So it's kind of getting easier because, like, up here seeing you today, Scarlett's going to look after her brother because it's only up the road. So that's fine. We've reached that stage. But I just had to put a lot of things in place, and frequently Richard, my husband, would stay home. And we had a great support system, sort of part-time childminders and stuff, but only for a couple of hours. I couldn't do that, go off and tour around the world and leave them behind. But the beauty of all the 80s festivals was I could go away for the weekend, go over to Denmark, go back to Holland, out to Dubai or something, 3-4 days home. And that they could cope with. I wouldn't have liked to have put any of us under more pressure than that, because I just don't think it would have worked for us. You know, and now they're a little bit older, and it's easier for me to do what I need to do. You know.
Fantastic. What else have you got coming up?
Oh, I have got summer festivals. Yeah, all around the UK. And
can I ask who you going to join in with the summer festivals?
Oh, I don't know who's on the bills. I never looked till I'm getting in the car. Oh, them. Oh God, them. You know. No, I know. I'm seeing Kim Wilde. I'm seeing Paul. I'm seeing Rick. Tony Hadley. I just did one with Tony Hadley last week.
He was on the telly the other day as well, wasn't he?
The Go West lads. Doctor and the Medics. They're hysterical.
Oh my God, Doctor and the Medics.
Yeah, he's borrowing all my eye makeup remover.
Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, no, we did this festival the other day. It was so hot. Clive's makeup all ran down his face. He'd forgotten all his gear, so he came and used all my wipes and my moisturiser.
It's going to be brilliant. Just all of you guys getting together again.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Toya, Go West, Belinda Carlisle. You know, it's just great fun. It really is. It's really good fun. And then I've just agreed to do, before Christmas, I did 3-month tour with Nick Kershaw and Go West. Which was brilliant. It was called Together in Concert. We did all the theatres around the UK, and I've just confirmed 5 more shows with them.
Brilliant.
Back by popular demand. So we make a nice little pack. It's a nice little evening for everybody. If you're into your 80s artists, it makes a nice little evening, you know.
Where can people find out about these venues and stuff like that coming up?
Well, for me, you can Google anybody and you'll find their website. So for me, it's tpau.co.uk. All lowercase, no apostrophe, or Facebook, Tpau/Carol Decker, or @Carol Decker on Twitter. And you'll find out what I'm doing, or any of my mates. You can always.
And don't mess with Carol Decker on Twitter, otherwise you'll get a load of F's and God knows what sort of language.
Not after 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh yeah, no. Is that when you really come out like you're like bastard? Have some of this.
I know, because Adele was on the telly a while back saying she's not allowed near her Twitter anymore, having got a little bit trappy on it after a couple of glasses of white wine.
Oh right.
I know.
That's funny because people just like we look at you guys as like, you know, these icons and stuff like that, but people don't realise sometimes you're real people as well. So there's emotions.
We're idiots, Mark. You know? And now everybody's got this megaphone into the world through Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram, and sometimes it's just best to keep your trap shut. It really is, you know.
You get sucked into all of that sort of stuff. And what would you say, sort of, how do you deal with the critics? What would your advice be to somebody that's getting involved?
Don't read it.
No?
If you're confident, with your work, if you're confident in what you've done, it always hurts to get a negative review. It just does. It hurts me. I don't read it. But now there's a lot of personal criticism. If there's a picture of you somewhere, there'll be like a load, or on YouTube, or there'll be a load of comments underneath, some of which are nice, and some of which people have taken a little time out of their day to call you every name under the sun. And I always find it quite hurtful, so I don't read it. So my advice would be, there's nothing you can do about it, so don't take it seriously. If you know you do the best that you can do, and you're proud of what the music you make, or whatever you're doing, then there'll always be a troll, won't there?
All the time, girl. All the time. Carol Decker.
Mark Llewellin.
It has been an absolute honour and a pleasure.
Thank you, my love. Thanks for inviting me.
So much. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Have a fantastic week. Bye bye, guys.